Welcome to Bell on YouTube, everybody. Our episode 1. What we're doing here is a rewatch of Lucha Underground, so we'll be covering episodes 1 and 2. So this is my first time watching Lucha Underground, but Austin, you've watched it before, right?
Yeah, sure, but I'm not Austin actually. I am AJ Bomber,
That is true.
and you are
Last Outlaw. El Bandido Idolo. Not Idolo. Ban- I can't,
Soldado.
can't remember. Spanish was decades ago.
I mean, the lone outlaw would be El Bendito Solo. I think
Ooh, I
I
should have
might be
gone with
wrong.
that. Should have gone with that. Darn.
Um,
Anyway,
but
Lucha Underground.
yes. So welcome to Bell to Bell. This is a cool thing. I think I thought it would be cool to do because I've seen the first two episodes of Lucha Underground, so I have seen the two that we're talking about today,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen beyond that. So,
Okay.
and Lucha Underground is one of those things that I think a lot of people on the IWC really cherish, have been really happy with. Have been really happy with at least. I know like season two gets talked about. Seasons two and three get talked about a lot. Um, but yeah, from what I hear from my friends, it's really good. It's got some it's got some people who ended up showing up in AEW in it,
Yeah.
which I mean, I know between you and me, that's the one promotion that we pay the most attention to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it should be fun going back and watching this and seeing why everyone says Jack Evans is so good. Although he didn't show up on any of these.
Yeah.
Oh
I,
yeah,
I
and
I
the other
very
thing,
much liked episodes 1 and 2.
yeah, I enjoyed episodes one and two too. We'll get into that. But the other thing is that shows how a lot of people in the IWC really like Lucha Underground is the hype that's been around Aztec Underground. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's what it's called.
Yeah.
MLW bringing back the actor who plays Dario Cueto. Let me look it up real quick. Luis Fernandez Gil.
Okay.
He's the Spanish actor who plays Dario Cueto, and yeah, there's been like a lot of hype in bringing him back. I know they've announced that they have Mil Muertes, who we saw debut at the end
Ooh.
of episode two.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, there's a lot of hype around it, and possibly MLW is even getting a TV deal, and it might be on whatever their TV deal is.
Ooh.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, obviously, I've only seen the first two episodes of Lucha
Right. Yeah.
Underground, so I'm hoping I'll get to be more excited as I
As
learn more about Lucha Underground.
right. So speaking of heading into episode 1, so we open kind of with a package getting really the nice tone of the show. Like it's dimly lit, kind of like an alley fight. There's some dudes getting beat up. You can kind of tell we're following. There's a hooded figure beating him up, and then he gets joined by a luchador who, like, in a mask, who they then spar after the other dudes are knocked down, and he's like, basically, as you put it in our note sheet here, a come with me if you want to live moment. And then we get kind of the backstory of the
Yeah,
temple and the lore of Lucha Underground.
yeah. I think our discussion of the first episode is going to have a lot of just talking about the general feel of the show because that's
Yeah.
something really important to
Mm-hmm.
Lucha Underground, and um, it just like yeah, I think that's one of the defining things. Besides having some good wrestlers and unique characters, it's just like the presentation as a whole, from the vignettes to some extent the commentary,
Yeah.
to just the temple itself. Like the temple in itself as a character, we'll
Yeah.
get into that
Oh,
later,
yeah.
but the production on all of the packages is consistent and like dark and moody, and just really helps kind of like add into this kind of world of Lucha Underground that's dingy and also like traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I, I
it,
quite like
it's
that little package.
yeah, it's very good. I liked it a lot.
another thing, I didn't include this in our note sheet, but there's a lot of in this package and also in all of Prince Puma's packages, which there's a good few of because they're one of their biggest stars.
Yeah, kind of
Um,
our season
there's
one protagonist.
yeah, there's flashes of like Aztec symbolism and like temples and people in traditional dress and stuff that are also prominent. Um, but anyways, beyond that, we also get we get some images showing different luchadors fighting and a clip from Triple Mania 2014, which kind of provides backstory, kind of the origin of Lucha Underground. Basically, Dario Cueto comes out with a briefcase, and at Triple Mania 2014, uh, obviously Triple A's biggest show,
Yep.
and he uses his biggest superpower, which is bribery, to sign a deal with AAA to get to use some of their wrestlers, and that's kind of the explanation for the show. You've got Dario Cueto, who has a temple that he's built, and wrestlers that he's basically signed to compete in his temple and honored violence and traditions and stuff.
along with along with copious amounts of unnumbered money. Like, no, I don't know where he's getting all this money from, but he sure has a hell of a lot of it.
Yeah, that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Like, what did this guy do to get all this money?
So then we move on with the show. We go into the temple after this package, kind of explaining the lore of the show, and Dario Cueto getting into like his intro promo, welcoming everyone to Lucha Underground. There's a band, like they have a live band in the temple with a stage set up, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, the band
Vampiro,
is funny. Although
yeah,
we don't really get to hear them play or that much, unless they're playing the live entrance themes, which would be
I don't
sick. But I don't
know.
think they
That would
are.
be pretty, that would be pretty cool.
I imagine they're just like playing during commercial breaks or during times in between production or
Yeah,
what have you.
probably.
Uh,
Or as like
yeah,
packages are
it's
going on and stuff.
cool. It's a really good little
Yeah,
atmosphere of a party. Really feels
yeah,
hot.
yeah. It's
Vampiro and Matt Stryker are on commentary, which
love.
is yeah,
I
it's
love
a
that
it's
team. It's so good.
uh um personally, I mean, I like Matt Stryker. He's not my favorite, but he's good. And
Yeah,
Vampiro is always a wild card to have on commentary. Pretty funny. I feel like he showed up on Botchamania plenty of times just for his commentary in AAA.
yeah.
Um, Overall, the team, I mean, it's not like world class, but it's good. It can kind of feel like a video game commentary team at
Kinda,
points,
yeah.
um, and generic, but they're good and actually like say some funny stuff sometimes, which we'll get into.
Yeah, the good moments they have too, along with the funny moments, like it feels like it really fits the show. Like
Hmm.
they're a good couple voices to have for the show.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, Dario comes out of his office, which is pretty prominent in the temple. It's right next to it's only a few yards away from the ring.
Yeah,
Comes out of his office carrying a briefcase. According to Vampiro, he's a heel because he's Spanish, and this is filmed in LA, which is close to Mexico. So, um, but he establishes that Lucha Underground is built on tradition and violence. His delivery on that line is
his
just so good. I
his
imagine we're going to hear it plenty of times.
his personal favorite.
Yes. And then he puts up, as a sort of story for the first show, he puts up $100,000 of very fake looking money
I know
to whoever
that's
impresses him the most.
that's totally legit. He just got bigger bills to emphasize how much money it was.
I don't even think it was like I don't know what phase was on the money.
I
It
don't
didn't
know.
look like
It definitely
Benjamin
wasn't
Franklin
Benjamin Franklin.
or anyone.
It's like you go to the
But he
dollar
says,
store.
"Oh no, go ahead."
No, it's like you go to Dollar Tree, you pick up like 5, 10 packs of like fake money they have, and just be like, in the briefcase, let's go.
He says, "Get rich or die trying." Um, promise you that the kind of wrestling on the show isn't really that brutal as dying, but there's
No.
some cool stuff on
Oh
this
yeah.
first show.
Definitely not CZW levels of oh my god, what are they doing to themselves? It's more a symbolic die trying. But we've got we've got
Wrestling, it's wrestling. Dying comes up a lot.
yeah. But our first match after this promo, Dario introduces it as like setting the precedent for what the show and the style will be, enriched in lucha libre tradition. We have Blue Demon Jr. versus Chava Guerrero Jr. And Vampiro with a Guardians of the Galaxy reference, I believe. Is this when Chavo's entering? I
Yeah,
think.
he talks about how the old luchadors, they were like the Guardians of the Galaxy back
Oh
then.
yeah.
And actually, I mean not that's not too bad. That's kind of apt
No.
because I mean like El Santo and I forget which generation actually he was talking about. If he was talking about El Santo and Blue Demon,
Oh,
or if he was talking about just like Chavo. Oh, I think he was like just talking about like Chavo's father and
like
training with
the
them and stuff. And
yeah.
but I mean, it's just funny because this was in 2014, right when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, so he's got to be topical and
Oh yeah.
say that.
And then into the match. It's a really good match. Like I enjoyed this match just as a like not it was basic, like a standard match. With
Yeah.
as Matt Striker who put it, an old fashioned hand stomp. At one
Mhm.
point, they going with a test of strength and a Greco-Roman knuckle lock.
It's a good start.
Yeah,
Pretty standard lucha stuff. Um, like I can't say I'm that big of a like I find anything that interesting about Blue Demon Jr., but Chavo has some good stuff going on.
yeah. Chava's got the personality. Blue Demon, you can like he's got the leg. They both obviously have the legacy aspect of it, but Blue Demon really has that like old world luchador feel, where it's like it's this kind of he's championing this traditional Mexican wrestling
Mhm.
style.
Oh, one thing we did forget. Bell to Bell does not condone
Yes,
any of the wrestlers on the show who've had some questionable interactions. Notably, there's two of them on the show, Sexy Star and Blue Demon Jr. Just wanted to acknowledge that.
yeah. We're removing off. It's like their characters on the show. We're not diminishing anything that's accused of them, but we still obviously they're featured prominently, so we kind of can't not talk about them.
Mhm.
So and
Anyways, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, so the match is going on. Blue Demon catches Chavo. The finish of the match, Blue Demon catches Chavo in what looked to be, at least to me, kind of like a lion tamer, or at least a similar setup, but a sharpshooter instead of a
Yeah,
Boston Crab. And
yeah,
Chavo tapped, so
yeah.
you're yeah
Chavo tapped.
tapped out. So your winner of the first ever match in Lucha Underground history, at least televised, is
Mhm.
Blue Demon Jr. by submission.
Yeah, it's really kind of a surprising turn of events.
Yeah,
At least for us American fans, because I mean, Chavo has done a lot of work in the States and is the bigger star.
right.
At least in the States, I would say he's probably the bigger star than Blue Demon Jr.
More
But
well known.
this,
Yeah,
this is showing on the Elevated Network. And so I think like Blue Demon Jr. as like a Lucha legend kind of makes sense. And it also plays into the story that the show is going to tell,
right.
which we'll see later.
Yeah,
One thing,
there's a lot of stuff that came out of just that match in the first two episodes, as we'll get
mhm.
into.
One thing that I just thought was interesting was cold. Vampiro was just freaking cold on the mic on commentary when he
Oh yeah,
says the only Guerrero that anyone really liked was Eddie.
yeah, like
Um,
not necessarily
that's gonna
very.
play into what we get later, but
Yeah,
damn boy,
I mean, you gotta build like props to Eddie. Like Eddie was great.
Yeah.
Like,
Um,
but I don't know. Eddie was the only one really liked. It seems a
I mean,
little
in
harsh.
kayfabe, I guess like
Yeah,
Chavo is a better heel than a face,
yeah,
and obviously
that's true.
Becky has so much go away heat that she that fans didn't realize that she just announced Andrade was in AEW on
Yeah,
this last AEW. That was kind of a funny thing.
yeah.
Um, yeah, uh,
Oh,
good if bog standard match.
yes.
Um, we then go into some packages. I have noticed that Lucha Underground tends to do, and I think NXT does this too. Any hour-long wrestling show does this,
Yeah,
where it'll show a match and then cut to commercial, and then it'll do two, two or two video packages, and then cut to another commercial. I imagine
yeah.
that's just logistics. Like you have an hour of television, you have four ad breaks to fit in. That's the
Yeah.
best way to do it in order to get full matches in. It's just something I appreciate, like doing
Oh
full
yeah.
matches
Not
when
not
you can't.
having it not having them separated by commercial. That's nice to have for a
Uh-huh.
change.
Anyways, Conan's meeting with Dario Cueto in his office. Conan says he's got a wrestler he's mentoring. Dario, very menacingly, announces that he's signed Johnny Mundo. Well, he says he's gone by many names, but
Yes.
here he will be known as Johnny Mundo.
I think
He has a different last name for every promotion.
yeah,
I'm
he's
expecting
had
him
a
to show when he
he's even
what?
had a few in WWE. Like, because he was Johnny Nitro first, because Bischoff
Oh,
brought him in,
yeah.
and then he was John Morrison, and then he went to TNA and he was Johnny Impact, and then Johnny
Uh-huh.
Mundo here. Was he Johnny anything else? Or is that all of them?
Uh,
I don't know him off the
I'm
top of my head.
sure. I would laugh if he was advertised for House of Hardcore as Johnny Hardcore or something. Or if
Wait,
he
I
showed
think
up
that
on a random indie show, people booked him on a random indie show and he just showed up as Johnny insert promotion name
it's a
here.
promotion name. That
Yeah.
would be a fun gimmick he could take up if he wanted to.
But anyways, Dario says that Johnny Mundo does not respect the traditions that Dario has built the temple for, and he wants Conan's protege to make an example of Johnny Mundo tonight. We then go into I think after a commercial break, we go into a
Yeah.
hype package for Conan's previously mentioned protege, Prince Puma.
Yep.
Uh, he, Conan talks about how the luchadores have gone back to the Aztecs, makes a Game of Thrones reference.
That was I don't know my Game of Thrones timeline, but that must have been right after season 1 when Ned Stark lost his head, because it's directly a reference to I wound up rewatching it to get a
At
bit more
least before
detailed
season
notes.
one.
Yeah, because it was
I
a
feel like because the eighth season aired in 2019 or 2018,
think
or
so.
so.
Yeah.
I feel like this was probably third or fourth season. I don't know.
Yeah. But that was it was basically a direct Ned Stark reference in the sense of the mask being basically a one to one of the luchador's head, and in old traditions they lost their head when
Mm-hmm.
they lost in battle, hence the meaning of the mask, why it means so much to lucha culture.
Prince Puma apparently traces back to the Aztecs, and he fought and was found on the streets of LA. Um, Conan with a line I thought was kind of funny. His spirit animal, you guessed it, the jaguar. Um, and I did a quick Google search, and it's kind of funny because pumas are more related to panther or cougars,
Yeah, yeah,
actually.
he said jaguar, and I'm like, wait, that's a completely different thing, Conan.
I guess the mask looks like a jaguar, but
That's true. Yeah,
it's just funny because you got a
yeah,
guy named Prince Puma and his spirit animal. You guessed it, the
the
jaguar,
jaguar.
the jaguar.
Yes.
Tony Khan in shambles, Prince Puma into AEW when I mean obviously Prince Puma is Ricochet.
Yes.
break kayfabe a bit there. Um, uh,
But with that, obviously, knowing the skill there of Ricochet, like being Prince Puma in Lucha Underground, like the matches he has later, like in these first two episodes, are great. But building him up, um, his spirit animal is the jaguar, and Puma makes Conan believe in leyendas, which is, I'm
yeah,
assuming you've done a little research on that one there.
it's legends. Yeah.
Yes.
That's not research. That's translated.
Hey, my the last time I had Spanish was like 2, 3 years ago. I remember bits and pieces, not much.
Yeah, I had Spanish and I had Spanish in like 11th as a junior in high school.
Yeah.
Um, 3 years of Spanish. Don't know much.
Eh.
Like I'm pretty bad, but like I would definitely still come off as a tourist.
Oh yeah. Oh, me too.
I just don't have to use an I would hope I wouldn't have to use an app for
Yeah.
too much.
Right.
I don't know.
But
I don't know.
after the package, we move into our next match, which is Son of Havoc versus Sexy Star. So Son of Havoc doesn't get an actual entrance here. I'm assuming to save time because Sexy Star gets an entrance and then a package kind of building up her character with her being. I'm assuming she'll be more prominent as the season goes on.
Yeah, probably. Um, this is going to be I have a feeling this is going to be an ongoing thing for Son of Havoc.
Probably.
Probably
He's
don't even have entrance. They probably don't even have entrance music for him.
Probably not. He is a very basic look, like generic looking heel. He's got like dark jeans. He's wearing just a plain black mask. Like
Uh-huh.
nothing too flashy about Son of Havoc.
Yeah, that said, he is performed by Matt Cross, who
Mm-hmm.
I'm quite a big fan of how Son of Havoc in general. Matt Cross is in the ring. He's
Oh
pretty
yeah.
smooth. He goes for some good flippy stuff. I was kind I guess like I guess it make I'm not sure. Apparently he was last seen in the NWA, but I'm kind of
Oh okay.
surprised like AEW didn't scoop him up. I feel like he's one of the few people from the card of All In who they haven't taken in or isn't really with a major promotion at the moment.
So for the match, his a surprisingly deep voice. You and I were both kind of like, oh wow, didn't expect that. Um, but he goes into his whole he's not gonna fight a woman. She should just leave his ring, get herself counted out, not have any trouble. Blah 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 blah. Misogyny, yay! No. So Sexy Star leaves the ring. Looks like Matt Striker explains if she gets counted out, like referee hits 10, she loses. But as Son of Havoc turns his back, she gets back in the ring at 5, and we have a normal match ensuing.
Yeah, yeah, it's a normal if very
Yeah,
short match.
yeah,
Um, Surprisingly short. Uh, I think it's like only like a minute or two longer than the package itself.
yeah,
That Sexy Star got. Uh, yeah. Havoc's basically using his strength advantage, while Sexy Star uses her speed and good lucha things. Um, there's a pretty cool reversal where Sexy Star goes for a sort of wheelbarrow code red type thing.
mm-hmm,
But Havoc just slams her into the mat.
yeah.
Pretty tough.
It was a very strength versus speed thing. Son of Havoc having the strength advantage, and it ends in nefarious means though, because Havoc hits a backbreaker to his knee on Sexy Star, but then pins her with a handful of tights. So, not a fair win there from Son of Havoc, and that'll lead us
Yeah.
into something that happens in episode 2.
Honestly, not too noticeable. That noticeable of of like a handful of plates
Yeah, you wouldn't
kind of
really
thing.
notice unless you're like, I think Stryker said like
Yeah,
what
the Striker
a
says it on later
bad
show.
bad way to bad way to win a match and stuff. Kind of demeans Son of Havoc for it.
Stryker also compares Havoc to Charlie Brown from Out of Town, um,
Yes, that is
which
a
I was
that is
confused
a
by at first, but then I remembered that Charlie Brown from Out of Town was Jimmy Valiant in a mask
yes,
back in the old territory days.
yeah, because that was I think Jim Crockett, like before they were even WCW,
Uh-huh.
like or at least very early WCW. But a very old wrestling reference from Matt Stryker there, which I
Uh-huh.
appreciated because it's like, wait, I feel like I've heard that before.
Yeah, from my understanding, it was I think it was like just like a general gimmick from the territory days, but like Jimmy Valiant's the one who did that kind of thing on TV.
Yeah,
And it's pretty apt because like both had pretty basic masks and pretty nice beards.
yeah,
Um,
it's a well groomed beard.
mhm,
So after this, we have another video segment. This time with a disappointed Chavo Guerrero. He's kind of sitting alone in like a dingy. I don't even know if it's a locker room. He's just kind of sitting on a bench. But
mhm.
Dario
Some
Cueto.
really good cinematography. That's another
Oh
thing.
yeah,
Like the packages are pretty well shot and and look pretty nice. Like you can see the sweat dripping down Chavo's face,
yeah.
and
It's a
the lighting's really good. Almost
yeah,
almost reminds me of like a noir esque scene,
kinda yeah,
which makes sense for the kind of world that Lucha Underground is.
yeah. So Chavo's kind of sitting there like head in his hands, and, Dario Cueto's just sitting there or standing there, laying into him. Like you have so much legacy. You're in the first match. I thought you were gonna win that match, and you tapped out. Kind of going off of that, and then he tells Chavo since he didn't finish the job against Blue Demon Jr. The following week or following episode, he will have to bring in someone who can finish the job, and that wrestler turns kind of teases that there will be 1,000 deaths coming to Lucha Underground. He won't be able to stop this man when he brings him in, and basically, I mean, the comment we were watching, it's all Chavo's fault. He just couldn't win a match, and now everyone's gonna die. So
Including me because I just had some
yeah, I saw
technical
that. I'm like, oh
difficulties.
no.
Says, Thanks a lot, Neil. Presence of Mil Muertes
Real
makes
worth
me
this. Uh,
makes my computer cower in fear.
so we've got that segment, and we go to commercial, and then after we come back from commercial, we are at our main event, which is Johnny
Yep.
Mundo versus Prince Puma, which I was very excited for and was not
Yeah,
disappointed at all.
certainly the best match of the show, if
Oh
not
yeah.
both of these shows.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a really good match. But starting with their entrances, Johnny doesn't get the slow mo entrance, but he does have a
They
fan
got the
with
fan.
that sends wind through his hair. Uh, as he comes out, Stryker is building him up, putting him over as a good guy, and and Vampiro says, "Why don't you take him out for dinner?"
Yeah.
That was funny. Uh, then Puma makes his entrance, accompanied by Conan. Conan comes out. Conan is the first one in the light, and uh, Matt with that's not Prince Puma, that's Conan. Which reminded me of probably one of my favorite moments from Sting's time in WWE,
Oh yeah.
where he appeared on his second appearance. He appeared on a Raw to distract the Authority. Sting shows up on the Titantron. Seth is looking at him, and JBL on commentary says, "That's not Sting. That's a picture of Sting." And then, of course, like a minute later, Sting walks out
He's
onto the
actually
stage and
there.
points at Rollins.
But it was very good. Vampiro is very much against Conan mentoring Prince Puma. He's not training him, he's just corrupting him. This kid's gonna get corrupted. He's not getting trained. Vampiro's only in it for
Which
himself.
goes back to Vampiro and Conan's Conan's only in it for himself, which of
Yeah.
course goes back to Vampiro and Conan's rivalries back in the day, I
Yes.
imagine.
It's a very nice callback.
Um, yeah. The match overall is obviously really good for a match worked by Johnny Mundo and Prince Puma, two flippy dudes doing flippy things.
Very good flippy
Um,
things.
Very good flipping things. They start out filling each other out with some kicks. Puma goes down but gets right back up with probably the fastest kip up I've ever seen,
Yeah,
which is what you would expect from Ricochet.
yeah. Then
Matt with a reference to WWE's kind of bubble
living his best
around
life out of the
bubble.
bubble.
And he says we can talk about these, not a COVID bubble. that's
No,
that's
no, no, no.
that's six
That's a
years later.
totally different animal.
Oh yeah, but we can talk about these things here. Go, they exist. Use the internet.
Look up all these different styles we're talking about.
Yeah,
Matt Striker's just living his best life.
he's marking out, bro.
He is marking out, bro.
You better have a counter for how many times we say he's marking out, bro,
I could. I'll
over the
add
course
that.
of all of these episodes.
I'll add
It
that.
won't be an episode of the Lucha Underground of the Lucha Underground rewatch, which is our lame name for whatever this segment's going to be when we upload it.
Yeah,
Please come up with some better sounding names for Lucha for it. I mean,
yeah. Give us some names.
it deserves it.
It does. We've got our own names, like our own kayfabe names for this. Like give us some names for the show in the comments, and I've got the Matt Striker counter right there, right below my name, or maybe right in the middle. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
going on with the match of some flippy rest hold escapes and such from performers the caliber of Johnny Mundo and Prince Puma. Vampiro warning about Conan's corruption. He does this a
again,
lot. Like basically whenever Prince Puma and
whenever
or
Conan shows up.
whenever they're on the screen, he's like, you can't trust him, can't trust him. So
Although interestingly, Conan is not at ringside for the match, which makes
yeah,
sense because Puma's face. But
true.
I imagine later on if the relationship gets tenuous, we may see Conan show up, or maybe even whoa. I don't know much about Lucha Underground. Maybe manager. No, we know manager interference is okay.
Yeah,
Late
but
from episode 2.
yeah, it's been a. I'm curious to see what happens, or like as Puma and Mundo get closer, or whatever. Conan's like, I gotta
Mm-hmm.
be ringside to make sure you keep your head in the game, or something like that. But
Yeah.
after that, Puma has some very good lucha things, and the Ricochet signature taunt. He goes for an outside dive, and then handsprings against the ropes and goes into like a going with Marvel references here. The Deadpool superhero pose. He's got
Eh. Oh
going
yeah,
on one
superhero
knee
pose.
with his arm out.
I thought you were saying Deadpool does superhero
Oh
poses a
no,
lot.
no, no,
Um,
no! It's horrible
no,
on the
it's more of an
knees.
Iron Man thing.
It's horrible. It's
But
horrible on the knees. He doesn't do those. But it's a real back and forth match. Uh, so Matt
yeah,
Striker,
Son of Havoc gets that Striker does a recap of the
yep,
show so far for like people just tuning in from commercial, and Son of Havoc is the only person who doesn't get mentioned because there's only 6 people on the show.
absolutely no mention of him whatsoever.
Yeah, but from the signature shot, if you didn't know Prince Puma was already Ricochet, then if you know who Ricochet is, then you know who Ricochet is.
Yeah,
Um,
but as the match goes on, leaving Son of Havoc out of the recap completely. Uh, we've got a full leg Nelson from Prince Puma, which was really good, really unique. Matt speaking to the character of the temple, being a character in and of itself. I'm assuming we'll see
yeah,
more of that as the series
let's
goes
talk
on.
about that for a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, the temple is a really cool is probably one of the defining character, like along with the presentation as we mentioned. But like the temple is a really cool venue.
yeah,
That like is a defining part of it. Like I always find it cool when we get these signature arenas, signature venues for different companies and stuff. Like got like MSG for WWE,
yeah.
got the ECW arena, you've got Daly's Place now
Daly's
because
Place.
of the pandemic. Um,
Probably
and of
like
course,
probably the Sportatorium or like the Georgia Dome for WCW, Jim Crockett.
Uh, yeah, the American Legion post, um,
Yep.
president, the
Rest
birth
in
of a
peace.
thousand.
Rest in peace, American
But yeah,
Legion
rest in peace.
post.
The birth of a thousand cool YouTube clips.
Oh yes.
Um, but anyways, with Lucha Underground, it's the temple, and it's really
Yes.
great. Fits the aesthetic. I love the hard cam setup with the temple steps going
Yeah.
down. I think it's really cool how people make their entrances in LU because
Yeah.
you've got the like archway and you've got two different entrance routes for like different people. It kind of reminds me of what AEW has with the different with tunnels,
Yeah.
although
The face and
a
heel tunnels.
significantly yeah, each is a significantly different kind of area. So like if people want to make a cool entrance going down the stairs, or if they want to come out and do something cool along what that needs a bit more space under the like archway thing. Yeah, it's really that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd is very prevalent. I like the temple step layout like allows for there to be plenty of crowd in the hard cam shot, which is cool.
Yeah. It feels like there is more space between the fans and the ring, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot of space. It feels like it's all very close and very intimate. It's a really really cool venue.
Yeah, you've got the canvas, which is dirt like which you can tell is kind of dirty.
Yeah.
I know in the Blue Demon and Chavo match, they both got like black black stuff like dirt and dust on them like on their backs as the match went on.
Yep.
Um, I really appreciate the simple just like Aztec logo on the center of the canvas. Like it's so overdone to just have like your logo in the center of the ring. I think it's cool to do something like that.
Yeah. Have it just kind of fitting the theme as opposed to being like an advertisement for the show you're already watching.
Uh-huh. Also, there's Dario's office off in the corner to the
Yep.
right of the temple stairs, which
Kind
is
of like a
cool. It makes sense because he's like the owner of the promotion and like the authority figure. So
it
cool to have like
also
an office in a venue.
yeah it also has a cool element because it's like he's always there, he's always watching what's going on, like there isn't he's not backstage somewhere where people go to his office is
Uh-huh.
literally right next to the ring.
Also in the temple, there is a plywood box esque commentary table. It just looks like
Yeah,
a few pieces of plywood strapped to like a smaller table.
looks
Um,
yeah
but
basically.
and
And
the Puma and John Morrison start fighting over it. Johnny parkours off of it because of course he does,
I mean
and
he's
gets the upper
parkour
hand.
background.
Parkour.
Parkour.
Yeah, Johnny's clearly wrestling that more heelish style, but he's still a face. He's still a good guy,
Oh yeah.
at least so far. But against Puma, he's got a wrestle more brutal style.
Yep. He's got the Pumas starting with has a bit of a comeback with flying uppercuts, kind of like he's hulking up a little bit. Standing moonsault misses, but he goes into a standing shooting star. Morrison, I can't remember what Morrison. I think it was like a spinning heel kick. Morrison does a spinning heel kick, and then Piro says that's out of. Basically says that's something that he used to do. That's basically his thing. And Striker's like, "You ever have abs like that though?" Vampiro says, "I did once at one point in my career."
Yeah, some good stuff. Johnny tries for the Starship Pain, which is here called the End of the World or El Fin de
El
Mundo,
fin de mundo.
which is hilarious because the move has like no impact.
It's
It's an okay move, but it doesn't
like
make sense as a finisher to me.
yeah, it's a cool looking move, but it never has the impact you feel like it should. It's a split
Yeah,
leg corkscrew moonsault. Like
yeah,
that
which I mean is
sounds
incredible,
yeah, it's
but
insane
like
that he can do that, but it doesn't have the impact something like that should.
yeah, I've never really seen him. I've never. Well, I guess I haven't watched a lot of John Morrison, but I've never really seen him botch it. And
No,
that's pretty good. That's pretty good track record for such a complex move.
right.
Um, But yeah, he goes for the first. El Fin de Mundo misses. Second Fin de Mundo also misses. But Puma gets the upper hand, goes for a springboard 450. But Johnny's too fast. I mean, with a match like this where it's two flippy guys who are pretty agile, you're gonna get lots of counters and like
Yep.
misses and stuff. Um, Johnny ends up hitting a Moonlight Drive to see, which is not an overdrive. It looks like an overdrive, but it's more like a swinging, like flipping net breaker. I know that
Yeah.
like when we first watched it, I'm like, is that the overdrive? No, the overdrive is. I'm like, that doesn't look that bad. And no,
Yeah.
it's not the overdrive, and the overdrive looks way shittier than the Moonlight Drive.
Yeah, it's kind of like a, I guess, a one-handed fisherman's neck breaker almost.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Kind
that
of.
sounds good.
Probably the closest thing to it. But we've got that, and then hits Moonlight Drive, the C4, and then finally on the third try of Fin de Mundo, and Mundo finally wins the match. Puma, he's kind of real torn up about it, because obviously this was his first match in Lucha Underground, trying to make an example of Morrison or Mundo.
Hmm.
But Mundo shows him respect. Dario Cueto comes out because we still have this $100,000 hanging in the balance for this. He's clearly not
He's
happy. Vampiro makes a note of that. It's like he looks pissed. I'm like, yeah, he does.
yeah, as he mentioned before, he doesn't like Johnny Mundo being in it
Oh,
for the money and like fame, not the traditions. But yeah, Prince Puma. But yeah, goes to show it. He shows off the very fake money. Johnny walks up to him and he closes it. They kind of tug over it. Dario like runs away, which I thought kind of funny. And but then they're attacked by two guys in street clothes, along with a large black man who is the former Ezekiel Jackson.
yes.
The guys in street clothes, they are not the revival. They hit a shatter machine slash Goodnight Express slash
Big rig.
big yeah. Is it Big Rig or Big Red? I
Big
always
rig. It's a
thought it was
reference.
Big Rig.
Yeah, it's a reference to Brody, one of Brody Lee's first characters.
Yeah. They hit yeah that move. Ezekiel Jackson hits a choke slam, and Dario comes back into the ring and reveals that these guys they work for me.
Yeah, kind of like a,
Um,
not necessarily a heel turn because he was already kind of
yeah,
the
he's already
sleazy
kind of heel.
businessman, but this kind of really cemented like he's here. He doesn't like Mundo. He's hired these dudes to basically beat up Johnny Mundo.
Yeah, and the show ends to a chorus of boos as Ezekiel Jackson holds up the briefcase, and
Yep.
that's the first episode of Lucha Underground. Billy, how many masks out of 5 would you rate this?
I'd probably give this probably 4 masks out of 5, just since it was a really solid first show. I liked all the matches on here, like the Sexy Star match, as short as it was and as kind of odd as it was at times. It still served its purpose. The opening match I liked just as a traditional, really rich Lucha Libre history match, and then the main event was, I mean, it's Johnny Mundo versus Prince Puma, Morrison, Ricochet. Pick your names for people. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was a great main event, and then
I'll give it a.
the
Oh
packages
no,
were
go ahead.
done really well too. So it was
Yeah,
4 or 5 for me.
I'll give it a solid 3.5. The the main event really made the show in terms of
Yep.
work rate and wrestling. The characters are interesting. I mean, obviously, this is like my third or fourth time watching this one because I've tried to start Lucha Underground a few times and
Yeah.
I've never gotten past the second episode. Um, but yeah, it's a good starting show if a bit standard in the ring minus that main event. And yeah, the packages are good. I think Dario Cueto in general, like he's really spot on, like for what I would what for what works for Lucha Underground and like what makes a good authority figure.
Yeah.
Um,
They
he's
they
he's
they do it really well. Like he's really good for that role.
mhm. But yeah, 3.5 masks out of 5 for me.
Alrighty, so episode 2 of Lucha Underground. Show opens. We get started right up with Dario Cueto's boys who wound up beating up Johnny Mundo and Prince Puma at the end of episode 1. They introduce themselves as Cortez Castro, Cisco, and the boss, Big Rick, who was Ezekiel Jackson in WWE. Basically, they're here to beat people up and take all their money, or take as much money as
Yeah,
they can.
Cortez Castro is the one not wearing a shirt.
Yes.
Um, that's the way I remember it, at least of the two guys, and of the two, Cortez Castro and Cisco.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to miss Big Rick
Yeah.
whenever he shows up. Uh, they're talking, drawing with the crowd. I think Big Rick acknowledged. First off, Big Rick acknowledges the crowd in a way that kind of made me think of like Miro.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not like, I mean, like from what we've seen so far in Elliot and Lucha Underground, like he's not a like insane promo, but he like, but
He gets
he
the job done.
I think it's cool that he like kind of like plays in the crowd like that.
Yeah.
He also makes a reference to Johnny Mundo knowing his face.
Yeah.
Uh, because I believe they would have been in ECW together. I don't
Yeah.
think.
Because that would have been
Yeah, I'm not.
that would have been Miz and Morse, like when they were a tag team
Yeah,
the
Miz and
first time
Morrison
around.
kept their teeth
The
on
the
ECW.
the dirt sheet era.
Uh-huh.
The first dirt sheet era. So they're running down the crowd, talking about like introducing themselves. So Johnny Mundo comes out, runs them out, tries to beat them up. Obviously, numbers game on Mundo is too much. Prince Puma comes out and joins them, and then
Oh,
in all of this madness, Dario Cueto comes out and kind of does his best Teddy Long and says, "We're having a tag team match right now
yeah.
with Mundo,
Obviously,
Puma, and Cortez Castro and Cisco."
yeah. Um, yeah. He comes. Obviously, his office is right next to the
Yeah,
ring, so
like he can see exactly what's
comes out
going
of that
on.
office. Yeah. I actually Mundo actually like double 1-on-2s.
Or no, yeah,
Cortez Castro and Cisco. But then they go and get chairs, and then
right,
Puma comes out for his save.
yeah,
Um, that's kind of establishing the power level, I guess, of
yeah.
them. They
It's like
kind of look a bit like jobbers there,
they're
but
the lackeys for Big Rick. Whenever,
they're the lackeys for Big Rick, and they're also like street fighters, so they
yeah,
play dirty and stuff.
yep,
Um, the match starts. Big Rick is sitting on the temple stairs, smoking a cigar and looking like a badass.
yeah.
He looks really good, just sitting there. And he's also that means like whenever there's a hard cam, you can see Big Rick just sitting
Like
there,
he's just sitting there,
looking cool.
and then
Anyways, the match starts with Prince Puma doing some flippy stuff, and Matt Striker notes that he's he was talking. Vampiro was talking about how everyone's going to start copying Prince Puma, in Ricochet and stuff. Not Ricochet, but he doesn't say that. But
yeah,
Matt Striker notes. Noting that he himself, Matt Striker, steals moves all the time.
it's like, well, at least you're honest about it, Matt.
Yeah, Johnny does a cool breakdancing style kick to
Yeah,
Cisco when he's down. Matt Striker with another good line. I asked Cisco how he described his style, and he said, "Yo, call it call it prison shower style, Holmes." And I just walked away.
walked away. That's the smart move, Striker. That's the smart
I could
move.
just totally picture that
Oh
in my
yeah.
head.
Cortez pulling Mundo off the ropes mid springboard to get an advantage. Cortez, the more technical of the two, Cisco kind of being the more plain brawler of the duo. Puma gets a hot tag, hits some cool 1-on-2 moves. I think the line is even thrown in there. Striker goes, "It's 2-on-1," and Puma hits a move or two. And Vampiro goes, "Actually, I think it looks more like 1-on-2." So
I
Puma,
think there was some cool stuff, like
yeah,
he like shoves Cisco's head in under Cortez Castro's arm, and then makes Cortez Castro like do like a DDT
Yeah.
to to Cisco. He goes for a spinning kick on Cisco, misses, but he flips out of the way of the punch from Castro, and then just hits the kick anyways.
Yeah. So some really
Followed by a
good,
standing shooting star.
really good stuff.
Impressive.
And then Mundo having a good looking Hurricane Rana on Castro, and then going
Yeah,
for
especially it was especially impressive because Cortez Castro is kind of short,
yeah,
so his head got kind of close to the ground. It was
yeah,
kind of worrying, but
no,
yeah, he pulled
not
it
much
off.
space.
Pretty nice looking. I think it's the tights as well.
Yeah, and then going for a or tornado-esque dive off or to the outside, but coming up empty. I don't know how you can just willingly throw yourself knowing you're gonna crash and burn, like that.
I mean, falling on your back is probably better than,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's still yeah that ought to hurt. Especially like it doesn't look like they have too good of mats out there on the
Mm-mm.
outside for the temple.
Looks like stuff you'd find in like just your standard like gymnastics like gym area. Nothing like extra padding of that sort. But after the dive, Striker with a Secret Wars reference, kind of following the theme of Marvel references we've had throughout these first two episodes.
Yeah,
Um,
and Castro and Cisco are just working over Puma,
yeah,
doing heel stuff.
yeah, really drawing the sympathy for Puma and Mundo, and then Puma getting a great flip over the ropes. That was top rope, right? Kind of like a
No, it was like a tope con hilo, except he does like a flip in the ring and then flips over the ropes.
oh right
When he's running up to the ropes, he does a flip, does another flip
over
over the ropes, and then like dive does like a dive under his opponent.
yeah, and then that leads to the finish of the match being Puma and Mundo hitting stereo 450 splashes to win. Big Rick not a happy camper.
Yeah. Yeah, overall this was a good match. It's obvious. From what I could tell, Cisco doesn't really have much wrestling training. He's an actor or
Yeah,
something. Like that's the one. Those are the credits that he's had. Um, uh, Cortez Castro is a small time indie guy who's worked in ROH and stuff. Um, but yeah, overall pretty good match.
yeah, kind of a good
Big
joint opening segment.
Yeah, and Mundo and Puma or Ricochet work very well together
Yeah,
as a team, and we'll have to see where that goes though.
yeah, they played it on in commentary a bit, and that progresses into the storyline right now. When we have a the next thing right after this is a segment with Puma and Conan, kind of showing Puma's like training. Conan's doing a little bit of a voiceover. Or he's not training. He's standing in the locker room. Conan's kind of lecturing him, warning him against uh, partnering with Johnny Mundo, staying with Johnny Mundo because, quote, it is not your fight. Like, Mundo's fight is not Puma's fight, and he only has one friend in the wrestling business, and Conan says you're looking at him, pointing to himself. So,
Mm-hmm.
interesting development there, trying to keep Prince Puma away from the fame and glory seeking Johnny Mundo.
Yeah. Um, and then commentary hypes up the debut of Mil Muertes, 1,000 Deaths, which Dario mentioned last time. We get a shot of a dark building with a woman talking, promising 1,000 deaths are coming, and then a spooky flashing shot of Mil, which looks pretty sick. I like how I mean he looks good like in color, but I think he
Yeah.
looks like so much more imposing in like black and white, like or with the
Ooh.
flashing lights or something.
Yeah. I agree, especially with the having the pinstripe tights, and we can talk a little bit more about that when we get to the main event. But
Ooh, yeah,
those are
that was a
it
questionable
was an
choice.
interesting choice. But the next match is kind of the follow up to the second match we had on episode 1, but this is a tag match between Son of Havoc and Ivelisse versus the team of Chavo Guerrero and Sexy Star. So Vampiro plugging Talk is Jericho. I think around this time, Chavo was on there talking about Eddie. Eddie was brought up again by Vampiro, so kind of had the plug there for the Ayatollah of Rock and Roll List podcast.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. I think that's a good time to talk about intergender wrestling in
Yes.
Lucha Underground, because this is a mixed tag match, but uh like in general, Lucha Underground is cool with having intergender matches. We had an intergender match on the first show. Here it's a mixed tag match, and like women can hit men, men can hit women. Not
Yep.
any mixed normal mixed tag match BS in my opinion, because
Yeah.
it just like doesn't feel great. I
Like,
don't know. Like,
well, and it's just
but
it make like everyone at this point, like I could see why they had those, like maybe 30, 40 years ago, when it was still like everyone was like, oh, it's
or even
all
into
like,
the 90s,
yeah, or
like
even into the 90s. But like now everyone knows, like everyone's trained the same way. Like
mhm.
guys train with guys, girls train with girls, guys train with girls, girls train with guys, etc., etc., etc. There isn't much of a reason to
Mhm.
have it split the way like WWE does, and they reference it without saying WWE, and that's how Lucha Underground is different in that sense.
Mhm. And I think that that's one of the great things in general about like intergender wrestling is like when you have like top level athletes performing in like combat sports like MMA and stuff, like
Yeah.
the difference between genders is gonna matter. Like that's why UFC
Right.
does
Yeah.
not do like intergender matches and stuff, like, and that totally makes sense. But with
Like,
pro wrestling, because it's fake, because it's like not, because obviously like there's risks involved and
right,
stuff, but
right,
like because it isn't like actual fighting, like
right.
it
It's
has like
you're not
showmanship and
right.
and
You're
is
not
work and stuff.
you're not like in UFC, where if you don't have that weight class system, you're gonna have people like seriously getting hurt. Like wrestling
Yeah,
is like, obviously there's a weight class system, but that's just a carryover from feeling like traditional combat sports.
women and men can be on completely like equal level,
Right.
equal ground, and I think it's really I just think intergender wrestling is really fun. Like I know like at least one match is probably like in my favorite indie matches, if not like matches I've ever seen. Like at least one of those is an intergender match.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really appreciate intergender wrestling. I think it's kind of like the next evolution for like women in wrestling
Oh yeah, and
would
it
be like getting major like getting intergender wrestling on like a major television station.
yeah.
Like no dirt on like El Rey,
Oh yeah.
but I don't
No, no,
think
no.
anyone would
Or
consider them a
like
major TV
or
station.
like or like and
Sorry.
she had her, like, that's all another bag of worms we don't need to get into right now, but like when, because Tessa Blanchard had won Impact's world title, like she
Oh
beat
yeah,
Sammy
yeah.
Callahan for it, but like that was, and that crashed
God, I
and
forgot
burned
about that.
in its own messed up way, and we can talk about that at some point later. But like
Yeah,
it's still one of those things where you had a woman winning the top belt of a
the
company and
top belt.
defending
Yeah.
it. Like she had successful title defenses in legitimate matches. So
Mhm.
and it opens up a whole new bag of stories you can tell through intergender wrestling. So hopefully we can see that more. At least I'm hoping we can see that more on a mainstream level soon.
Mhm.
But
But yeah, so intergender matches are pretty cool in
yes,
general.
definitely a cool thing. Like if people want to look stuff up, definitely a cool thing you can look up. Um, but for this match specifically, Matt Stryker putting out, kind of reiterating that any athlete is, all the doors to the temple are open. If you think you're tough enough, or you want to get in on Lucha Underground, the doors are open. So we have a, as it's called, a jobber entrance for Son of Havoc and Evil East. They don't get any fanfare entrance music. They're just starting in the ring. And a standard entrance for Chavo Guerrero and Sexy Star.
Yeah.
Really, kind of a standard tag match, kind of cutting the ring in half, working on one of your opponents, working to the hot tag. But it was a really good match the way they structured it. Obviously, Son of Havoc being a really smooth worker. Havoc and Ivelisse start beating on Chavo to start, cutting the ring in half. Vampiro, his striker, keeps referred to Son of Havoc as Havoc a few times, and then
As we do.
as we do as well. And he would correct us too. He goes, technically, Matt, that's not Havoc. That's Havoc's son. Like, with direct emphasis on the son. It's like, oh, sorry, Vampiro.
That's Havoc's son, guys.
It's a son.
I'm picturing a family photo of the family of Havoc, Havoc's wife.
Yep.
Or no, Havoc, wife of Havoc, son of Havoc, daughter of Havoc. I think the team of Ivelisse and Son of Havoc works really well.
Yeah, they do.
Like I mean, obviously it's like standard heel stuff, but like just cutting off the ring, Havoc going for like strength and like a little bit of flippy stuff. But obviously he's heel. And then Ivelisse just being really brutal and stuff.
Yeah.
Sexy Star tags in to save Chavo. She gets some lucha stuff in, but gets cut off by Havoc's strength once again. Havoc really looks strong, like when you compare him to like, I mean, like he still gets lucha stuff on, like the Sexy Star gets lucha stuff in on him, but like he looks really strong. It seems like whenever he loses a match, it's because he goes for flippy stuff. So he should get Drew Gulak in his corner.
Yeah, right. And I get Drew Gulak. It was kind of similar to the like him going for flippy stuff is why he loses. Kind of how FTR lost their AEW tag titles.
That's the other thing I thought of.
That was a good finish. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, but Havoc and Ivelisse, an effective tag team. Chavo hitting a frog splash, a really good line from Matt Striker, saying every time, because this was Eddie Guerrero's finisher, every time Chavo goes high, he tries to touch the heavens, to touch the hand of his uncle, and that's a really nice line. That's a really good line. Chavo, chivalrous as always after hitting his, as Striker calls it. As always, as Striker calls it.
It's a Guerrero.
Yeah. But Chavo, after hitting the frog splash, tagging in Sexy Star so she can pin Havoc to get her retribution, not the group, for her loss the week prior. But it was a really good match. I really enjoyed this match. They structured it well, and
it was a good match.
Yeah, the way they did the intergender stuff, and then having Sexy Star get her win back, so to speak, but not in a just, oh, she lost last week, so she wins this week. There was more story there than that.
Yeah, it was a good standard match. I like how it played into the continuity of Sexy Star not being able to stand with Havoc one-on-one because he's stronger.
Right.
Like she's still really good at lucha stuff, and obviously Havoc won because of cheating. She would have beaten him singles wise anyways, but still, like when she does fall short with Son of Havoc, it's because he's stronger than her.
Right. She gets.
I like the direct throwbacks, like in the first match, he went for that wheelbarrow roll up type thing.
Yeah.
And got thrown down. Here, when Chavo tags her in, and she ends up actually getting it. It's also a really good setup for what happens later in the show.
Yes, a lot of good relationship setting, like the way they pepper stuff in that it's like tying in at the end of the show. But
more of a subversion in that sense, for what goes down later.
Yes. And our next segment with Blue Demon Jr. in the back, kind of warming up, psyching himself up for his match with the mysterious Mil Muertes. A mysterious woman taps him on the shoulder, disappears when he turns around, and then she reappears in front of him, identifying herself as Katrina, and then licks Blue Demon Jr.'s lips before saying, "A taste before 1,000 deaths, a message from Mil Muertes." So, kind of, it's the last positive thing you'll ever feel before Mil Muertes just comes and destroys you. Bit of character there. This is
or like seduction, or like Yeah, or like seduction is death. So this is
Right.
like
Yeah.
one like taste of death.
Right.
Um, so then yeah, and then that was good. They think they do a really good job of building up Mil Muertes throughout the show.
Yeah,
And
they
then
did.
you have a package on Prince Puma again. Conan again, this is kind of focused on his origins.
Yeah.
Conan says a close friend, someone you all might know, found Puma fighting in back alleys. That's it. That's a bit of an interesting line.
Yeah. My
I know from just looking at like a roster page on Lucha Underground on who shows up like across all the seasons. I know one person who could be a friend of Conan's, but we'll have to see where that goes.
yeah.
It's a good package, kind of just like reestablishes who Prince Puma is as this kid who was found in back alleys and whose lineage traces back to the most brutal Aztec tribe or
Yeah.
whatever. And then Prince Puma ends off the package by punching a punching bag off of its chains, off of the ceiling. So yeah, that's cool.
Strong guy. Then we get to our main event, which is Blue Demon Jr. versus Mil Muertes, 1,000 Deaths. So Blue Demon Jr., no fanfare entrance, he's just in the ring. Mil Muertes coming out with Katrina. We can talk about his attire a bit now. We had referenced it earlier, but he's got kind of a feathered traditional luchador cape. He has like
It looks like
bluish.
not just traditional luchador, but looks like kind of Aztec. Has that Aztec
Yeah. Oh,
sort of
the
feel to it.
extra with the extra fringe
The
around the
extra
edges. Yeah.
feathers and like some leather padding and stuff.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. It looks better than his blue pinstripe tights.
Yeah. That was like they weren't necessarily bad. It was just it didn't feel like it fit for me. Like he has this really cool black mask with the MF like Mil
Black and
Muertes.
purple, yeah.
Yeah, like a purpley black mask, but then his tights are a completely different color, which I feel like could have been like even if they were black pinstripe, that would have worked a bit better.
They also
Like a
don't look
black
that
and gray.
flattering.
No, not really.
They just don't look that flattering. He's got like some padding or something underneath that kind of makes him look bad on the lower body. I don't know.
Yeah,
But hey, maybe it'll play into his character. Like
it
my
might.
guess for what the character is um well, I'll get into that later. But
Yeah, yeah.
so before the match, Katrina hands Neil a red handkerchief thing. I'm not sure if there's something in it or not. I feel like I heard later on Matt Striker say a stone of some sort
Yeah, it was like
or
a reference
something,
to
but
like
we
his
never really
heart,
quite
maybe.
see.
Yeah,
He sniffs it, looks at it, and then hands it back to Katrina, and then proceeds to he kisses Katrina and then attacks Blue Demon Jr. from behind.
yep,
Looks really strong in this match, really brutal. Lots of stomps, knees, some really stiff looking chops.
yeah. This is a it was a very strike heavy match, and both of them kind of laid into each other. But Mil Muertes
Hmm.
really kind of having him be the one who looks like he's got the upper hand with it.
Yeah, yeah, like like Blue Demon Jr. gets a few hope spots, maybe more than I would have put in, but that's just me. Uh,
Yeah,
you get some hope spots with some like classic lucha stuff, classic face stuff, doing like a corner 10 chops.
yep,
But he always either gets dominated by Meal just like no selling stuff, or Katrina. At one point, Katrina helps him on the outside and like kicks Blue Demon in the face and stuff.
yeah. But as the match goes on, we have those. After those corner 10 saps the next host spot, this one he gets laid out with a spear, which leads directly into the finish, a flatliner, which is fitting, I guess. 1,000 Deaths
Yeah,
flatliner, that works.
yeah, it looks good. I would expect
Yeah.
something a bit more powerful for Mil Muertes,
Mm-hmm.
who looks like who just looks like really powerful. Is very strike heavy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it works. It kind of looks it looks cool and makes sense for his character.
Yeah. And then
I'm
the
also wondering if this is just like a signature and he didn't finish him off with his actual finisher.
that might be kind of like he didn't need to use his finisher to finish off Blue Demon. He wasn't a strong enough opponent of sorts,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. But after the bell, Mil Muertes goes back to Blue Demon Jr., keeps punching him in the face, takes the handkerchief from Katrina, goes to do something with it. He kind of raises his hand, but then Chavo comes in the ring with a chair, runs him off, kind of, as we're led to believe, a respect kind of thing from the match from episode 1. But those
But
those
then,
those lying, cheating, stealing Guerreros, Chavo hits him in the face. He turns heel. He hits Blue Demon Jr. in the face with the chair. He just keeps beating him up with the chair. Lucha Underground only has 2 referees, Rick Knox, and
yeah,
I can't remember the other guy's name, but Chavo lays them both out, so there's like no one to stop him. Normally there's like
yep.
endless referees for stuff like this, and like Chavo's just
Yeah,
standing
he
there.
takes
He
takes
lays
down the
out
2 refs. He
the
lays down
the
young boys
un
possibly, or just like
yeah
some nameless luchadors or something.
unnamed luchadors, and then Sexy Star comes out, kind of pleading like, "No, what are you doing? Don't hit him. We literally just had a tag team match like 10 minutes ago. What are you doing?" Like
Mhm.
pleading with him, and Chavo, a dirty bastard, he lays her out with the chair too. So everyone's down. Chavo and then does his kind of signature taunt in the middle of the ring. Paramedics come out with a stretcher for Blue Demon Jr. Chavo beats him up a little more as they're trying to get him on the stretcher. And then the show ends with a shot of the ambulance taking Blue Demon Jr. out of the arena.
There was also a really nice shot of the chair with a dent in it.
Yeah,
That looked
that
really
was
cool.
really nice close up. Like really seeing how mangled the chair was.
Yeah, that's how we end episode 2 of Lucha
Yes.
Underground. And it was a good episode. I think it's better than the first one. I would give it probably like 4 max out of 5, or maybe like 3.5. It's right on the border there. But I think the ongoing thread with Chavo, some developments in Prince Puma versus Prince Puma and Johnny Mundo and Conan, that thing. And then obviously the debut of Mil Muertes and interesting character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this was it's a good showing for Lucha Underground, and it's continuing to be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. This is probably a 4 to 4.5 for me, just because it built on everything you saw in the first episode. There wasn't really any loose thread. That obviously there's only 2 episodes, so you'd have to be really neglectful to miss something from episode 1. But it was everything progressed. There wasn't anything that kind of stagnated or anything like that. It all built on what happened before it, even in its own show with the tag match with Chavo and Sexy Star, how that ended. So I'm excited for
Yeah,
episode 3 and episode 4.
episodes 3 and 4. Yeah,
We'll have those for
should be
you,
coming out next week.
yeah, either
We'll
next
see.
week
We'll
or the
see
week
what
after.
the how the scheduling goes.
Yes.
Thanks for watching our Lucha Underground rewatch.
Yep. Make sure to like,
Um,
subscribe, do all that good stuff. Share the name of the channel around. Share the. I don't think it's the channel is not easily findable yet, so share the URL if you can, or just share the channel with
let's
people.
hit let's hit that algorithm. Don't worry,
Oh
we'll
yeah,
try and hit that algorithm a
hit
bit
the
more.
hit that algorithm. We got to hit 100 subscribers so we can get a custom URL to actually have it. YouTube.com/bell to bell instead of all that HTML stuff. So the road to 100 subscribers starts now. Share it with your friends. Share it around. Like, subscribe,
Yeah,
all that fun stuff, and give us some
do it.
names for this show down in the
Yeah,
comments. We need some
keep those
names for
names
this
coming.
show. Yeah. So, social media
Yeah.
pages for Bell to Bell on YouTube here, and we will see you all
Um,
in the next couple videos.
next
We'll
couple
be
videos we should be having our the debut of our flagship show, the one
yes.
that's actually called Bell to Bell and not some lame Lucha Underground rewatch that we don't have a name for yet.
Hey, we can't bury this
Um,
yet. It's only the first episode.
I don't know, man. I was saying that lack of a name was lame.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
we gotta have cool names. We have cool
Give us,
names, right?
yeah,
Why can't our show have cool names?
yeah. Give us some names. Give us some names for the show.
Um, yeah, that's our the end of our second episode. Tune in next week for the future episodes and more, and stay tuned to Bell for more.
Yep.
I'm AJ Bomber,
I am the Last Outlaw. Our Twitter handles
and
below if you want to give us a follow.
Yep, and we'll see you next time in the town.
Example.